excited to welcome Brady Nuss to the Changing the Course podcast today. Brady, aka Birdogi, is a self named professional amateur golfer who documents his golf journey on Instagram and YouTube. Brady, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Perfect. So, just to start, I was wondering if you could share the origin story of Birdogi.
So the origin story of Birdogi. So I used to be a big disc golfer, or frisbee golf for those of you who want to call it that. But in disc golf, most courses are par three courses, so it's always just a drive and then usually you putt, right? Well, because it's a par three course, we don't really like keep score on an app or like on a scorecard when you're playing disc golf. So you kind of like keep score for each other, and you would always tell the person, "Hey, what'd you get on that hole?" And it's a term that we use a lot in disc golf. It was I got a birdogey, which means that like I had a great drive and I was close enough to be putting. I just suck at putting, so I three putted it for a bogey. Even though I had a birdie opportunity, I made a bogey. So it's kind of a term we used in disc golf a lot. And when I started playing regular golf, nobody really understood what it meant. So I figured, well, that's perfect. That's going to be my name for the channel.
Absolutely love that. Would you mind telling me a little bit about what drew you to documenting your golf journey on YouTube and Instagram?
It's kind of funny how I got started. So before this, I actually ran these video game servers. That's kind of what I did during COVID. I was running these private servers. They're called 5M. Some of you might know what that is. Some of you might not. But at the time, I wasn't trying to be an influencer. That was what my job was running these servers. And I kind of got into golf, and I was like, well, this is kind of fun. And I just saw on TikTok people were just kind of like documenting their own journey, and it just seemed kind of like flat and stale the way that they were doing it. So I was like, well, I could probably do this but make it funny, not thinking that like it was actually going to be a success or that I would actually form a channel out of it. I wasn't trying to be an influencer, but I just filmed a video and I voiced it over when I got home with like my normal self-deprecating humor that you still find in my content today. And I woke up the next morning and I checked the post and it was at 700,000 views.
Wow, that's amazing.
I got lucky and I just found a niche that needed to be filled, and a lot of people found it humorous, or maybe they weren't laughing with me and they were laughing at me, but it was just kind of I tripped and fell into it, and I found the recipe right from the beginning, and I've just kind of stuck with that ever since to stick true to the audience.
Yeah, completely. And I'm wondering if you could expand on that idea a little bit about carving your niche, especially because I feel like YouTube golf is becoming very oversaturated and there's a lot of people who are looking to, carve their own sort of identity online.
Yeah, so a big thing for me, right? When I first started filming my golf golf journey, I guess we'll call it, I was like a 25 plus handicap, right? So like once I started posting and it was getting traction, I was like, well, I can't just like hide the bad shots and only post the good shots. Like that's what a lot of people, they kind of cut their teeth by only posting the best of the best holes where they get an eagle or a birdie or a crazy chip in par save or something. It's like I'm not that guy. I'm a bad weekend warrior at this point, and I just if I want to do this and I want to go the comedy route, it's significantly easier for me to make content around comedy compared to trying to do that for good golf. And so I just was like, you know what? Like, this is what the people like. This is what the people want to see. I'm not going to pretend that I'm something that I'm not. I'm not going to, pull the ball back after a missed putt and keep going until I make it or anything like that. It's just going to be real, raw, authentic me. And if people like it, then they like it. But if not, then it is what it is. Because you have to remember, at the time, I was not making money at this. I was not trying to be an influencer. I still had a very successful business that I was running day to day. So I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it and make it fun to make content instead of a grind. And so that's the kind of the avenue that I chiseled out for myself, was just film 18 holes, and like whatever the worst hole of the day is, that's the one that I post instead of the best hole of the day.
Yeah, and I think the reason why YouTube golf resonates with so many people is, again, like you said, just people being really authentic about their own golf journey, whether their handicap is low or high. And so I think maybe that's the reason why a lot of people are learning golf through YouTube. I'm wondering if you think your content is kind of lowering the barrier to entry for new players who are just wanting to get started with the sport.
1000%. I can't even count the amount of times where people have DM'd me or commented and said, like, either I feel so seen or this guy golfs just like I do, or the direct messages where people send these long, heartfelt messages saying that, like, they've been wanting to get into the game of golf, but all they see are these, like, scratch golfers posting on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and they're too afraid to go out on the course. And then they see somebody like me out there actually playing, and for them it's like, okay, like this is actually what real golf looks like. I mean, like, well, I don't know what the exact statistic is, but it's like 90% of golfers will never, break 100 or break 90 or something like that. So there's significantly more bad golfers out there on the golf course than there are good golfers. It just so happens that I'm one of the few that posts about it and doesn't care what people say on the internet about it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Malbon Golf. Looking to change up your outfit on the course or feeling inspired by Jason Day's Monday attire at Augusta? Malbon's new spring collection just landed on their site with a wide variety of earthy tones and staples that can elevate your tee time. Join the streetwear on fairway culture and use the code CHANGINGTHECOURSE15 for 15% off your purchase.
Would you say that golf is more accessible now because of YouTube and just the advent of more creators like yourself? Or do you think that there are still some of the same barriers there?
There's definitely a lot of barriers to the game of golf, whether you're talking about attire or equipment or some of the etiquette stuff or things like that. There's definitely a lot of barriers that are preventing people from wanting to play or being able to play. But I definitely think that by people showing what actually happens on a golf course, like behind the scene, not even necessarily behind the scenes, but just like a real raw experience through the lens of a camera, it definitely helps kind of lower that barrier and allows people to be like, you know what, that actually looks like a lot of fun what they're doing. I want to go do that with my buddies. So I definitely think that it's helped a lot. There's still a lot of barriers out there, don't get me wrong, but YouTube golf and influencer golf has definitely helped a lot.
I also would love to immerse our listeners into what life is like being a YouTube golfer. So, just kind of wondering if you could share the process behind, getting a sponsorship with Chubbies and even, spending more than $16,000 to lower your handicap with that golf series.
I think, yeah, we're up to 18,000. It's funny, I'm actually staring at the monitor right now of my next video that's coming out on YouTube as well. But it's definitely a grind. We can make it seem like we live the best life, which granted we do, right? I'm my own boss. I get to make my own hours. I get to do something that I love. I get to golf, 3, 4, 5 days a week whenever I want. So yes, there is a side of it that is absolutely incredible that I love, but it's also a grind. It's a day in, day out, 7 days a week. You wake up and you think about it. You go to bed and you think about it, and it's consuming. It's got a lot of ups, but it's also got a lot of downs. And the highs are the highest of highs, and the lows are the lowest of lows. And that's something that I would tell anybody that's looking to try to get into this is be there, whether it's for the highs or whether it's for the lows, and just keep posting no matter what. But as far as like the day-to-day stuff, like how can somebody make a living at this? Like you brought up Chubbies, they're my title sponsor. They have been with me for years now at this point, and I've built such a great relationship with them, and I get to make some of the funniest videos trying to promote some of the products with them. But it's definitely something where you got to post, you got to be consistent, you got to get the views, you got to build the audience, and having a team behind you definitely helps to try to navigate some of those conversations. I remember trying to do everything myself, and it was impossible. Trying to talk to brands and negotiate back and forth while also trying to come up with your own merchandise and source like print shops or hats or embroidery. It's there's definitely a lot that goes on behind the scenes that it's not just swinging a golf club every day.
Changing the Course is sponsored by Squarespace. If you've ever thought about building a brand around the game or starting your own YouTube golf channel, Squarespace makes it easy to bring that idea to life. With customizable templates, powerful design tools, and built-in analytics, Squarespace gives you everything you need to create a presence online and to showcase your content. Use the code 20changingthecourse in all lowercase to get 20% off your first month. Now back to my conversation with Brady.
Honestly love seeing how it's becoming more and more realistic for people to make a career through golf content rather than trying to be purely performance based and trying to make it to the PGA Tour, I guess now live as well. I'm also wondering if you have any thoughts about the Creator Classic and starting to see more of that crossover between creators and professional golfers.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I'm gonna level with you. I'm one of the few golfers that doesn't watch a ton of like PGA Tour or Live or like competitive golf. It's one of those things that like a mechanic doesn't go home and keep working on his car.
Yeah.
um, but I do love the game of golf, and I do think that there should be a bridge between professionals and between influencers, right? Because the influencers bring a lot of eyes. One could argue if you look at like some YouTubers' metrics, like if you look at the big names, they're pulling, as many views on a video that the entire event, like an entire PGA Tour event might pull over like, 1 to 2 days. And these are people that are cranking out videos every single week. So I think that there needs to be something like you're talking about where there's the little cross pollination between the two, and I think it's good for both parties, right? The professional golfer gets to show more of his actual what's the word I'm looking for, his personality, right? Because now they get 4 hours where they can just talk to a camera and they can shoot the breeze with another influencer to kind of like show what their personality looks like while they're not just grinding on, trying to make the cut. But it's also good for influencers to be able to have that avenue to make great content to showcase some of these professionals.
Right. And I guess I'm also wondering, what would you advise a PGA Tour to do in order to kind of try to reach that same level of viewership that now we have the Good Goods and the Grant Horvats of the world being able to attain?
Um, I would have to say there's a lot of and the entire game of golf is littered with problems like this, but there's so many different traditions and things that are in place, which I understand are there to try to preserve the game of golf. I totally understand why they're there, but some of them could maybe be modernized. I think that's what the PGA Tour needs to do is they need to modernize certain things. Like I remember when Grant was gonna go, he got the invention. I think it was sorry, not the invention. He got the invitation to I think it was the Barracuda,
Right.
and he wanted to film, and they said no, sorry, you can't film. And I think that Grant probably made the right decision in declining the offer because there's really only one person benefiting from this, and that's the PGA Tour. They want to have a big flashy influencer like Grant come on so that way they can get all the eyes, but then they're not going to allow him to give his audience anything to take away from the event. So there's little things like that they could do that it's not going to change the game of golf by allowing somebody to kind of have a cameraman there behind the scenes down the a few steps back. Like it's not affecting the TV, it's not affecting the broadcast. Like this is stuff that's going to take a week or 2 weeks to come out and edit and post anyways. So I think there needs to be a little bit of give and take on the PGA Tour side to kind of allow the influencers to come in and help spread the word, because I feel like I would watch a lot more PGA Tour stuff if it was filmed more like a YouTube video.
Right. And I feel like that is kind of the approach that TGL Live is trying to take with integrating technology and having it be more, I guess, consumer driven and exciting as opposed to the traditional broadcast where, it's kind of still completely the same formula as before, in terms of legacy media. So I guess just all really interesting things to think about when it comes to the future of golf media. Last question for you, just to close. If someone discovers golf through your videos today, what do you hope their experience with the game looks like?
I hope that if somebody discovers my content today, they can see that the game of golf is built for everyone. It's not for the elitists. It's not for the rich. Anybody can play this game. You can always go to some secondhand store. That's actually how I got my first clubs. Was I went to a secondhand sporting goods store. I even bought my first pair of golf shoes that way, which looking back is probably not the most sanitary thing I could have done. But I bought my first shoes there, my first drivers, irons, wedges, everything. And you can easily get into the game of golf. You can go find your local municipal course, where it's like, 30 or 40 bucks to go play 18 holes with a golf cart. You can go out there with your friends. You can have a good time. You can get upset. You can celebrate the wins. You can make fun of yourself on the losses. But I hope that they see my videos and they realize that, like, everything that I'm saying on camera is the same things that you are saying in your head when you're golfing. So you're not the only one that gets discouraged when they hit a bad shot or makes fun of themselves. Like, that's what the game of golf is all about.
Amazing. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing more of your content, and thank you for just showing the more authentic side of the game. I appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.